Welcome back, everybody, to Blood on the Clocktower, and welcome back to Ravenswood Bluff. Today, let's learn all about the custom script, Trouble with Violets. So Trouble and Violets basically takes all of the good characters from Trouble Brewing, like the chef, the empath, the drunk, the butler, etc., and adds in all the evil characters from the more advanced script, Sects Violets. So the new minions and the demons are more complicated than the set that you find in Trouble Brewing. So gone are the days of the Spy and the Poisoner and the Scarlet Woman and the Baron and the Imp, and now a group of more terrifying and confusing minions and demons have been added to the script. So let's go through who we're likely to come up against. So let's start with our minions. 4 minions available in this script. They all have abilities that can add to the death count, that can change people's characters, and mess with win conditions. So let's start with maybe my favourite, Pit Hag. So the Pit Hag changes players into different characters. Each night, choose a player and a character they become, as long as that character is not in play. If a demon is made, deaths tonight are arbitrary. So here is our townsfolk with some rather familiar faces. So in this instance, we have Double N Ben as the Pit Hag. Now the Pit Hag can choose one player and select a character. But as long as it's not already in play, that character will transform into them. So in this instance, if Ben picks on Lizzie and were to name Recluse, Ben says to me in the night, I want Lizzie to become the Recluse using my Pit Haggery. Then in this instance, Lizzie would not become the Recluse and the Pit Hag's ability wouldn't work because Bill Gaines is already a Recluse and you can't have 2 Recluses in the game. However, if Ben were to select a character that wasn't in play, such as the Butler, then Lizzie would change character. They would no longer have the ability of the more powerful soldier, they would have to settle for the slightly lamer butler role. So Lizzie for the rest of the game would be the butler. There are other things that the Pit Hag can do. They can turn good players into good minions. So in this instance, Ben has transformed Joss into a witch. Now bear in mind that Joss does not change alignment, so Joss does not become evil. Joss just changes character. So Joss will be a good player who has the ability of the witch. The Pit Hag can also change themselves if they wanted to into a different minion, or in this case, into a different demon. So in this instance, Ben is bored of working with Danny as the demon and so has decided to take matters into their own hands. Bear in mind that if a demon is made, then deaths become arbitrary. And 90% of the time, the storyteller will just end up killing the second demon. So in this instance, Danny would be killed if Ben decided to turn themselves into a demon. Now this might seem harsh on the evil team, but if you were to have 2 demons that both needed to be killed by the good team, and you had 2 evil demons that were killing 2 players per night, then it would be incredibly overpowered and not much of a fun game. Right, let's look at the Cerenovus. The Cerenovus encourages players to pretend to be different characters than they actually are. Each night, choose a player and a good character. They are mad that they are this character tomorrow, or they might be executed. Right, let's do it. Let's tackle madness. So madness is a status like poisoning, like drunkenness, that exists within Blood on the Clocktower. A player who is mad about something is trying to convince the group that something is true. Some players are instructed to be mad about something. If the storyteller thinks that a player has not put effort in to convince the group of the thing they are mad about, then a penalty may apply. So basically, to boil it down, this means that if a player is mad about something, then they have to do everything in their power to genuinely convince the rest of the town that they are a certain thing. In this instance, a certain role. If they don't try hard enough, or they choose to break madness, or they say nothing at all, then they might be executed. In this instance, wasting a good team's nomination. So let's have a look at this for our town square then. So Jimmy Noda is the Cerenovus. They decide to target the good monk character, Joe. And Jimmy Noda declares that Joe is mad about being the butler. Joe then has to spend the next day actively trying to convince the town that they are the butler. So bear in mind that Joe is still the monk, they remain the monk, they still have the monk's ability, but they have been driven mad by the Cerenovus that they have to tell the rest of the town that they are the butler. If they fail to do that, so if Joe decides that he doesn't want to play ball and just comes out and says that he's been targeted by the Cerenovus, or if Joe comes out and doesn't convince everybody very hardly, or if he just says nothing at all, then he might be executed, bringing the day to a close and wasting a vote that the good townsfolk will be able to put together. Okay, let's go for a more simple one now. The witch. The witch curses players so that they die if they nominate. Each night, choose a player. If they nominate tomorrow, they die. If just 3 players live, you lose this ability. So pretty simple. In this instance, Lewis is the witch. They target Bill Gaines because they know that Bill is hungry for nominations and will most likely nominate somebody the next day. What this means is that the next day, if Bill Gaines nominates, then they die. This doesn't count as an execution, and the day will not end, but it is still a kill nonetheless. So the witch really does add to the body count for the evil team. Great. Let's move on to the final minion, the evil twin. The evil twin mirrors a good character so that the players don't know which twin is good and which twin is evil. You and an opposing player know each other. If the good player is executed, evil wins. Good can't win if you both live. Oh, this is so cool. So, in this instance, right, Laura is the evil twin. Lizzie is the good recluse and also the good twin. Even though Lizzie is the good twin, she still is the recluse. She has the power of the recluse. Her character is the recluse, but she's given the token of good twin by the evil twin's character. So at the start of the game, I'll wake up both Laura and Lizzie. Laura will learn that Lizzie is her good twin and that Lizzie is the recluse. Lizzie learns that Laura is her evil twin. Naturally, throughout the course of the game, they will both come out shouting exactly the same thing. I'm not the evil twin, I'm the good twin, and I'm the recluse. It's up to the town to decide who to execute. The game can't be won while both twins are still alive. So bear in mind that even if in this instance Danny the Vortox is executed, the game will not end, because although the demon's been killed, the town cannot win if both twins are still alive. So when it comes down to the decision, if they decide to execute Lizzie, who is the good twin, evil wins, game over. If they execute Laura, the evil twin, well, the game still continues. They've still got to hunt down and kill the demon, but they have at least killed off the evil twin, and they know for a fact that the good twin is on the good team. Okay, you all still with me so far? Great. So in this script, Trouble with Violets, we have 4 possible demons. So unlike in Trouble Brewing, which we've played loads and loads and loads, you've only got one demon, the imp. You know what you're dealing with, you know that they're going to kill one person per night, you know they can kill themselves and pass their power on. In Trouble and Violets, not only do the good team have to find the evil player, but before that they kind of have to work out who the demon is, because that's the only way that they can truly tackle who they're fighting against and make sense of any madness. So for this script, we have 4 demons. We have a squid monster, a confusing mist, an evil surgeon, and a spooky ghost. So let's start with Zoidberg. The No Dashii, who poisons their neighbouring townsfolk. Each night, choose a player, they die. Standard demon ability, right? Your 2 townsfolk neighbours are poisoned. So let's go back to the town square. Ben is the No Dashii. Ben has long, disgusting, octopusy, infectious tentacles that can reach around the town and spread poison to the closest townsfolk to them. So in this instance, Jimmy Noda and Joe are poisoned for the whole game. Jimmy Noda and Joe will receive bad information, potentially, and their abilities will not work. The No Dashii essentially serves as both a demon and a double poisoner in one character. So in this instance, you can see that Jimmy Noda and Joe don't sit directly next to Ben the No Dashii. So why are they poisoned? Well, it's because the poisoning skips neighbouring players that aren't specifically townsfolk. So Lewis, going clockwise from Ben, is unaffected because they're a minion, and Laura, going counterclockwise, is unaffected by the poisoning because although she thinks that she's the chef, she's actually the drunk, an outsider, not a townsfolk. Bear in mind as well that as the game goes on, even after a player has been killed, they continue to be poisoned. The poison does not spread. So once Jimmy, Noda and Joe die, the poisoning does not spread round the circle to Joss in this instance. Okay, let's tackle the complicated demon now, the spooky mist. The Vortox, who makes all information false. Each night, choose a player, they die. Townsfolk abilities yield false info. Each day, if no one is executed, evil wins. Okay, so let's go through what makes the Vortox so terrifying. So we've got 3 key abilities here, right? Number 1, each night, choose a player, they die. Standard demon stuff. Lizzie the Vortox wakes up on the second night and kills Lewis the Recluse. On the third night, they wake up and kill Joe the Empath. Simple demon stuff. Part 2, townsfolk abilities yield false info. So this is very different to drunkenness or poisoning. This means that if a Vortox is in play, any information rolls that are in the game have to receive incorrect information. So in this instance, Jimmy Noda would be told the wrong roll when a player was executed. The investigator and the librarian would start the game and would be told rolls that aren't in the game at all. And Joe the Empath in this situation, although sitting between 2 good players, has to receive bad information, so would either be told a 1 or a 2. He could never be told a 0. And finally, part 3, this will make a few of you happy. Each day, if no one is executed, evil wins. Simple stuff. If during the day, once nominations are called and opened, if nobody is nominated and executed, evil team automatically wins. The Vigormortis, who kills their own minions, but those minions keep their ability. Each night, choose a player, they die. Minions you kill keep their ability and poison 1 townsfolk neighbour. -1 outsider. Okay, so let's deal with that last part first. -1 outsider. The Vigormortis affects how many outsiders are in the game. They reduce the number of outsiders by 1, so there would be an additional 1 townsfolk and 1 fewer outsider in the game. We've seen that before with Trouble Brewing, with the Baron who adds in 2 outsiders. But in this instance, it's just 1. So all demons are able to kill their own minions, right? A demon doesn't have to kill a good player, they can kill themselves, they can kill their own minions, but the Vigormortis has a unique and pretty cool ability that when they target their own team, a minion keeps their own ability. So if Jimmy Noda were to target Lizzie, then Lizzie would die. That seems lame. However, Lizzie gets to keep their ability even while they are dead. So Lizzie would be able to hex another player as usual. And in addition to this, 1 townsfolk neighbour of the targeted minion, in this case Bill Gaines, would be permanently poisoned for the rest of the game. So why bother killing off a minion so early? Well, obviously it means that, Lizzie can keep playing, and it means in this instance that Bill Gaines has been poisoned, and to have a poisoned empath is pretty huge. But what it does mean is that it kind of gives Lizzie a bit of authority. Being killed off early normally is a signifier that a player is good. It's a good way for, in this instance, Lizzie to get the approval and the ears of the good team. Finally, let's deal with the ghost, the Fang Gu. The Fang Gu possesses outsiders. Each night, choose a player, they die. The first outsider that this kills becomes an evil Fang Gu, and you die instead. +1 outsider. So just like with the Vigormortis, the Fang Gu affects the total outsider count. In this instance, the total number of townsfolk rolls is reduced by 1, and the total number of outsiders is increased by 1. So back to our town square. Let's have a look. In this game, we should have it's a 9-player game, so there should be 5 townsfolk and 2 outsiders. However, because a Fang Gu is in play, we've only got 4 townsfolk and we've got 3 outsiders. The 3 outsiders are the Recluse, the Saint, and the Butler. So in this instance, Joss is the Fang Gu, and they can make a kill during the night. In this instance, they decide to target Lewis. Lewis is the Recluse. The Recluse is an outsider. Because Lewis is an outsider, Joss dies instead, and Lewis becomes the new Fang Gu. and switches to the evil team. Lewis is no longer the recluse. Lewis is the Fang Gu. Lewis starts the game without any bluffs and without knowing who their minion is. Think about it that the Fang Gu is like a vengeful spirit that has possessed Joss on the first night, and if Joss finds an outsider, the Fang Gu will leave Joss's dead body behind and will possess Lewis, and Lewis will become the new evil Fang Gu. So this demon is a really, really good way of confusing the town and moving the demon around. But in this instance, this kind of sucks for Joss, right? Why is this good for the evil team? Well, what it does mean is that although, Joss has died and Lewis has got to sort of start again as the demon and has got to try and continue to gain the trust of the good team. What this does mean is that we've switched the ratio around, because now we've created a new Fang Gu. We've created an evil player. So the evil team now has 3 players rather than 2. Although Joss is dead, there's 3 evil voices in the town rather than 2, and there's 3 evil votes in the town rather than 2. The ratio has gone from 2 versus 7 to now 3 versus 6. 3 evil votes at the end of the game on the final day is absolutely huge. So that's it. Some terrifying evil characters and the chance for some real mayhem. Looking forward to seeing you all in Ravenswood Bluff very, very soon.